American winner of the season in Bahrain, and we head a 4-hour flight south of the US border to the colourful Mexico City for round number 4 of season 8.2 in the Formula PlayStation League, and the third Mexican Grand Prix in the FPSL's history. And after 2 races here in this league, we now have 2 different winners in season 8.2, and they are both Renault drivers. Can Canute, Cohen, Rob, or Trench, or anyone for that matter, knock the banana cars off their perch this evening? Let's find out as qualifying gets underway. My name is Rob Kershaw. I'll be guiding you through the action on a night that sees Lewis attempt to extend his 21-point advantage following a disappointing Bahrain Grand Prix by his lofty standards. I'm joined once again by Matthew Vernal. Matt, it's a slightly chilly evening in the UK, but hopefully the racing here will warm things up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Mexico, on the F1 game especially, is actually quite a good track for racing. There's a lot of sectors and sections of this track you can actually go side by side. Of course, you have the main DRS straight, but, you know, the run-down to turn 4 as well was quite a common one. So, with how good these drivers are, plenty of good racing to look forward to.
Yeah, the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, named after Ricardo and Pedro, 2 of Mexico's most renowned racing drivers. Of course, Sergio Perez currently flying the flag for Mexico for Red Bull this season, as Crunchy Trees heads out on to the circuit for the AlphaTauri team. Crunchy Trees with 3 races so far, 2 finishes in the points, so a solid start to his Formula PlayStation League career as he just embarks on this outlap. And obviously the first thing you notice, Matt, about this circuit is it's very short.
Yeah, it's a very short lap time. Only 17 corners, but it doesn't feel like it. A lot of them are high speed, and a lot of them are kind of half corners almost. So yeah, it's a very quick lap round here as well for the length of the track.
Harrison has just reminded me, he told me that it's a dry, wet, dry forecast.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely going to play havoc, isn't it, with the strategies? Because, I mean, it's bad enough when the race starts, but when there's a wet transition, then a dry transition, it's going to be a crazy race, isn't it?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, who's going to be the race's Jenson Button? Of course, probably the most famed driver for being able to time those tyre switches, which on a track like this could be quite crucial as well.
Down towards turn 1 then goes Crunchy Trees as the Williams just moves out of his way. I believe that was Vapor Canute just getting out of the way for him.
That's an interesting line.
Wide he goes.
And that hasn't invalidated the lap.
Yeah, I guess if you stay off the track long enough, it doesn't really matter. In towards turns 4 and 5 he goes, then gets the car turned in for the first apex, and then through the second. Uses the curb on the exit now through 6 and 7, which brings him in towards this really tricky complex of corners through 8 and in towards the right-hander of 9. Swiftly then to the left of turn 10, and then 11 and 12 takes him down towards the braking zone of turn 13 as he enters this stadium section now as he clips the apex slightly wide, but that won't cost him all that much time. Through this baseball stadium now he comes through the final couple of corners, apart from running wide at turn 3. Been a fairly clean lap this from Crunchy Trees as across the line he goes, and that from him is a 1:15.2 for the first lap time of the session so far. Of course,
I was actually going to say I was a bit surprised that Crunchy Trees actually took turns 1, 2 and 3 properly, because Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton showed us a few years ago you can just straight line them.
Yeah, and it's completely fine to do that as well. Lewis goes P3 and Cobalt into P1, 1:14.6 from the Renault driver. The winner last time out in Bahrain. Almost a renowned, renewed rejuvenates in the Renault driver. And Connor has backed out of a lap, I believe, but as he slows down to begin another one, having just had that one invalidated. So that was the reason the Ferrari had to back out of that previous lap time, but he starts one now. Matt, just take us round a lap of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez.
Okay, so of course, a very long straight here. Of course, the elevation as well plays quite a big factor in this track. You know, a bit less top speed, but a bit less drag. Now, through turns 2 and 3, very difficult to get right, as Connor shows there, running slightly wide on the exit, but very important to nail that run. You come down onto the second DRS straight here, heavy braking zone into turn 4, right down to second gear. Almost an acute angle corner, actually, as Connor does invalidate the lap, but we're going to stay on board anyway. This very tricky double right-hander now. Very difficult to get those corners right, as Connor has decided to ruin this by going to 20 miles an hour. Thank you, Connor.
Right, well, that one was over as quickly as it begun, so sadly we're not going to be able to go around a lap with Matt just yet, as Colin goes into P4 with a 1:17.2. Russell instantly replaces him on his debut with a 1:15.4 as well. Interesting so far, Matt, to see so many medium runners, as Evan goes P1 in the Williams.
Wow, that's a good lap.
14.4.
Yeah, I mean, I think for some drivers, Noof goes very sideways out of turn 3 there, but it's just to kind of get a feel of the track, you know, how's the car setup handling. Also gives you a bit of a hint of how the mediums are going to run in the race. A lot of drivers just kind of run time trial and they don't really run a simulation race, so just to get a sense of the car and how it's balanced, and then how you're doing around the track as well, you know. Some days you're on it, some days you're flying into the barrier and spinning at every turn.
Benjamin's gone P1 now with a 1:14.3.
Oh, wow.
So very low into the 1 minute 14s. We'll see if we can reach the 13s before the end of the session. We probably can, I would imagine.
I was going to say, bit of a disappointing lap from Lewis, but I didn't realise he'd actually done it on the mediums, so... Yeah. Also, second week in a row, 2 drivers have set the same lap time. Country Trees and Buttons Back, both setting 15.207s.
Yeah, good spot. Very good spot. And of course,
that's a good lap by Russell.
Well.
Look at that, Russell on mediums on 1:14.8. That's a good lap.
Back up into P4 goes Russell. That is a very competitive lap time on the yellow wooled tyre. Yeah, I mean, why are so many drivers opting to go for the harder compound in qualifying right now?
You know, it is to get a feel of the track, but also, I mean, if you can set a really good lap and a really good banker lap, that takes the pressure off when you are doing those flying soft runs at the end. If you make a mistake, you might still be in the top 10 with a 1:14.8, you know, and then you're on the mediums, which could give you a bit of an advantage later into that first stint over the other soft runners.
Down towards turn 4 then goes Ureles in the Mercedes.
I'm glad you said that name first.
I probably butchered it, if I'm honest, but you know, might as well commit to it. Still got 7 drivers yet to set a lap time. Canute has gone P11 with a 1:30.3, so I can assure you that's not his finest lap time that he'll ever set. And through this middle sector then comes Ureles and towards this penultimate braking zone of the circuit. I should say third to last braking zone of the circuit. Tries to take it nice and wide going into the stadium section. Uses the curb on the exit. And now through this sort of mini hairpin. And the final braking zone, which sets him up for the exit and the final corner. And this from the Mercedes driver is going to be P8 with a 1:15.2, just under a second behind the pace setter Benjamin. With Patterson out there as well in the McLaren, having just started a lap time himself. We've still got Connor, Cohen, Rob, Harrison, Trench and Bazooka Joe yet to go out there and put lap times on the board with just under 10 minutes to go.
Noof's done a 1:14.9 on the medium, so that puts him up to P5 as it stands. He obviously made a couple mistakes because he's done 3 laps on those tyres as Harrison goes P3 as well.
Great lap from him on the softs, 1:14.5, just a fraction slower than the pace setter Benjamin, who still holds that first position, looking for his first pole in the Formula PlayStation League, and at the moment he's looking okay for it. Connor's just had another lap invalidated, so he will not be setting one.
Oh, Lewis! Yet. Wow!
Lewis, P1, 1:13.8, so I kind of imagined that we would get to the 1:13s. Lewis has smashed through Benjamin's lap time, and having bolted on a set of the soft tyres, he's just said, no, I'm having none of that, and he goes P1. That's a brilliant lap time, Matt.
That is. You know, I was just about to say to you as well, you know, it's interesting to see that maybe the guys we were expecting to be at the top aren't there, and then suddenly Lewis goes and puts in one of those laps again where you're like, how on earth has he gone that quickly?
Always seemed able to pull something out of the bag. Does Lewis Patterson's gone to P12 with a 1:15.7. Vapor Trench and Bazooka Joe now on outlaps. Connor, having had his lap invalidated, is on another one at the moment as he makes his way down towards turn 4. Cohen Robb is also starting a new lap because he slowed down in his last one. Hence, it's a 1:35.
Oh, giving a toe to his teammate. Look at that teamwork.
Oh, and Connor's gone. Connor's gone very wide, and that's another lap time gone for the Ferrari. So, yeah, Cohen Robb being given a toe by his teammate Vapor
No, it was the other way round, actually. Cohen Robb was giving Trench a toe.
Yeah, very good shout. Yeah, so Vapor Trench being given the toe by Cohen Robb. Yep, good spot. So Trench now through turn 5. Go on, Matt.
But yeah, Lewis certainly can't rest on his laurels here and think, you know, that lap time's a guaranteed pole. As you know, Cohen Robb's a very quick driver. Of course, Noose, a two-time champion in the FPSL for a reason. You certainly can't put your feet up and think, oh yeah, I've got the front row secured here.
Yeah, Vapor Trench, of course, a two-time champion as well in his own right. Certainly someone who can spring a bit of a surprise in this pack tonight. But yeah, the competition just seems to get more and more difficult as the races go on in the FPSL. Here in Mexico, we've had 9 wins from pole in the 20 races that have been contested in Formula 1, as Vapor Trench goes into the top 10 with a 1:15.0. Bazooka Joe still out there for McLaren, and he's just begun a lap also. Just under 7 minutes to go in qualifying. Bazooka Joe has his teammate Patterson up in P13, so he'll be hoping to better his lap and break himself into that top 10. But the lap times have been dropping quite dramatically. Gone, Matt.
Okay, according to Cody's, Bazooka Joe went quickest through Sector 1, so maybe he's running a lack of wings or something, but this could be quite a good lap here.
It's been a smooth run so far on this lap from the German driver. And in towards the stadium section he goes as he flicks down through the gears, runs slightly wide of the apex, but it won't cost him all that much time. Wide again.
Purple Sector 2 as well, apparently. This certainly won't be a Purple Sector 3, though. A couple of mistakes, but this could certainly be a top 10 lap time here.
A little bit scruffy through the final couple of corners, but
no, it cost him.
1:15.3. So, Cobalt's left the session.
Oh no!
Just goes to show that on a track like this, particularly with such a short lap time, it's so easy to just make one mistake and lose all those positions, Matt.
Yeah, also there's a surprising amount of corners. I mean, it's a similar lap time to Austria, but Austria has far less corners, which you think would maybe negate it, but no. I mean, if you even lose 3-4 tenths for a corner, that's, you know, maybe 5 or 6 positions. Just while we were looking at Bazooka Joe there, FO Evan has improved, but not quite enough to catch up to Lewis, but he's now only 2 tenths behind, so this could be an interesting final run.
Yeah, should be an exciting battle for pole position ahead of this Grand Prix. Matt, Cobalt needs an invite. Just send him one.
Oh, I don't have him on my friends list. Do you have him?
I don't. No, I might do.
Hang on, I'll see if I can invite him. This is very professional. This is
fantastic. In towards the stadium section, then comes Harrison.
No worries.
Harrison with a massive back end loss. That'll cost him that lap time. So whilst we try and get Cobalt back in the session,
wait, how do you invite someone?
Finish his lap.
Hang on, no worries. I'm trying to fix this. Don't worry. You carry on commentating. I'll be working in the background. P6 for Harrison. Lost a couple of positions because Button's back's now gone into 5th place in the Red Bull. 1:14.4 for him. Button's back partnered with his teammate Sankey there, who's currently down in P15 in the other Red Bull. 1:15.6 for him. Button's back has out-qualified Sankey then on both the races that they've had together so far this season, set to make it a 3rd this evening. Oh dear, Connor's had another one invalidated, so
The Ferrari driver really struggling to get out on track and set a lap time at the moment, and he's only got, of course, just under 4 minutes left to actually try and send one. So, yeah, hopefully he'll be able to get back round. Whether he's got enough fuel in the car to go round now is one of the
what's a lap by Noof? Wow.
Yeah, Vapor Canoe's got into P1. What a lap that is from the Williams driver, 1:13.3. Whilst we were watching all of that going on, Vapor Canoe has just stolen provisional pole position away from Lewis.
Wow, what a lap.
Well, half a second clear. That's so demoralising for Lewis and for Evan, as Patterson makes his way now down towards the first corner on his latest run. P14 just behind his teammate Bazooka Joe, as we still wait for our 18th driver Connor to get round and set another lap time.
Pressure will be mounting on him now as well to not invalidate a lap, Connor, you know, because the longer you go into a session without setting a lap, you know, you're trying to drive as quick as you can, suddenly you're going to run wide again, bam, there you go, you can't set a lap now.
Could it work the other way, where you just go far too conservative in trying not to get your lap time invalidated, and then you just set a really kind of poor and unrepresentative lap time?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, try not to run wide and invalidate the lap anyway. And then when you've got that pressure of trying to just set a lap, any lap, yeah, you can certainly go a bit conservative, you know, not getting on the throttle, and yeah, that can cost you. And Harrison's left now as well.
The connection issues are goated this evening as round the final.
Oh, Connor, P5. He finally sets a lap.
Yeah, Connor goes out. Well, so he waited a while for that one, but goodness me, when it came, it was a brilliant one. P5 for the Ferrari driver, 1:14.2. Couple of minutes left in this.
And Colin Robb as well,
session.
P3 on his first proper flying lap.
Cohen Robb into third. So we got Canute, Lewis, and Cohen Robb. Evan now pushed down to fourth place. He's on an outlap in the Williams. So, yeah, right now the lap times are flying in. Collins retired from the session, so the 1:17.2 is all he's going to set tonight. And that, unfortunately, will be him starting at the back of the grid for the Grand Prix. We've got Lewis and his teammate Koma out there on outlaps right now. Koma, of course, had a very good qualifying in Bahrain, which led to that victory at the end of it. He certainly knows that he can improve on what is currently 9th place. But everybody's been improving massively in this session, so I think really we're expecting these lap times to plummet at the end on these final runs.
Oh, and just to point out a lap time in progress, FOO Evan is 3.5 tenths up through sector 1, so he could be jumping way up the grid with this lap.
Into turn 4 then goes Evan. Harrison's rejoined the session. Through 5 now for the Williams driver, man who was provisionally on pole position before he was knocked off top spot by Lewis, and then Vapor Canute toppling that lap time as well with a 1:13.3. Has anybody got anything in the tank to try and dethrone Vapor Canute and take away what would be his second pole position of the season and his second consecutive as well, as Warry Cloud retires from the session? Into the stadium section then goes Evan through this baseball stadium.
That's very nice.
Retired as well. Good run that for Evan, and round the final couple of corners. And is this going to be a spot on the front row for the Mexican Grand Prix? No, P3.
Oh, not quite.
13.8, very, very close to getting himself ahead of and Lewis has had his
he's invalidated it.
So that's not going to be pole for him, and the same for Vapor Canute. So he's had his lap time taken off him as well. Benjamin was P1 earlier on in the session. Can he find the time to retake provisional pole position? Currently sitting on a 1:14.3, so he has more than a second to make up if he's to achieve it. But round the final corner comes the racing point. Currently in P7, can he break it to the top 5?
What a lap!
Quite. Oh, it's top 6, and we've got an awful lot of shenanigans happening there. Vapor Cobalt has gone into P4. Lewis has collided with someone on the home
Cobalt
straight.
and Evans at the same lap time!
Oh, it's the
Again!
same lap, but 1:13. Wow, that's so close. Yeah, 1:13.842 for both of them. Evan gets the position. He set the lap time first.
Oh, what a lap by Russell! P2!
Into P2. What a lap from the Haas driver, just behind Vapor Canute. A stunning lap from him. He puts himself into second place in the Mexican Grand Prix. What a debut qualifying that is for the Haas. Vapor Canute took pole position away. Russell was so close to stealing it, but not quite. But that is an entrance right there for the Haas driver. Incredible lap.
Wow.
Just over a tenth behind Vapor Canute. Brilliant stuff from the German driver, though, to take his second pole in succession. Lewis behind Russell in P3. Evan takes P4 for Williams. Cobalt in 5th. Cohen Rob in 6th place. Benjamin 7th. Connor in 8th. Vapor Trench in 9th, with Buttons back rounding at the top 10. Harrison, Crunchy Trees, Patterson, Bazooka Joe, Sankey Yaded, Ureles, Warwick Cloud and Colin will all have a free choice of tyres for the Grand Prix. Given the amount of medium runs that we saw at the start of the session, do we expect those drivers below the top 10 to exercise that option?
Yeah, maybe a couple hard runners in there as well. I believe Mexico is not a particularly high tyre deg circuit. Of course, it being higher in the air as well, the track will be cooler. I don't know if Cody's have that in the game, but that will certainly help with keeping the tyres in that operating range and not graining. But yeah, what qualifying.
So as you can see, it's quite overcast in Mexico. We are expecting rain in the mid part of this Grand Prix before it dries up again and goes back to dry conditions. So certainly will be a race that's going to play havoc with the strategy. That being said, is there any point in those runners below the top 10 starting on the softs? Because surely you would just go for the mediums and wait out for that rain period.
It entirely depends how late the rain is coming, though, because if the rain's scheduled to come halfway through the race, the softs aren't going to make it that far. And then if you have to pit for softs and then 2 laps later it starts raining, then, you've kind of screwed yourself over. So it depends how far the rain is to the race. I guess we'll be able to tell by what they do, but certainly if it was further in, I'd run on the mediums, because you get better tyre wear as well as the race goes on.
Yeah, very true. Buttons back is starting in 10th place, and he was actually the first winner here in Mexico in the FPSL. He won in Season 1 for Renault before Slater won in Season 3 in the Ferrari on his way to championship success. Buttons back beaten to the championship by Vapor Trench in the first season. Trench, of course, winning both of the first 2 seasons of the Formula PlayStation League. He finds himself in 9th place in qualifying for this Grand Prix. And as you can see, Crunchy Trees, Patterson, Bazooka Joe, all going on to the medium tyres. Sankey and
2 hard runners
on the hards, and Ureles and Warwick Cloud on
and
the
Harrison
softs.
also on softs as well.
So,
I tell you what,
well, yeah, of course, very colourful down there, isn't it?
I'm loving the competition we have in the league this season. Like 2 guys, well, obviously new for everyone kind of expects, but Russell up there, Evan not far behind. Vapor Cobalt's having a hell of a season at the minute as well. Because last year it was kind of JT and Canute at the top, and then you had the rest of the field. Whereas this year there seems to be 3 or 4 drivers at the top of the grid every race.
Yeah, it's so tight, isn't it? Of course, Russell splitting Canute and Lewis, as you mentioned, that battle is so tight. Evan was in there as well. Cobalt, of course, won the last race. We have only had Renault drivers on the top step of the podium this season, which is a stark contrast to last season.
I was going to say, you would have thought that last season.
So many non-finishes for Renault in Season 7, but it seems to have all turned around for that team in Season 8.2. Interesting that Canute has really broken away from the rest of the pack, and he's going to be sat on the grid for a while longer.
The old psychological advantage. I'm going to drive at race pace on the formation lap.
Yeah, the old Kimmy. Doesn't need to
just drive quickly.
Just needs to drive. So, Russell in P2 on his Formula PlayStation League debut. We have had 3 winners from second in the past in Mexico. 8 winners from outside the front row. So it certainly is possible to win races from behind pole position, and of course overtaking, very possible at the circuit with the long home straights ahead of the drivers. It's a pretty long run down towards turn 1 as well. The Mexican Grand Prix is underway, how's the start from Vapor Canute? It's a very good one. Russell making a fairly decent start. He's in the 60 with the Williams already, and down towards turn 1 they go. And we've got Lewis and
Evans had a
Cobalt
horrible
side by
start.
side as well. And Canute's on the outside, and Russell's down the inside, but Canute breaks a little bit later and stays in the lead of the Grand Prix. Lewis just about defending from Cobalt. A brilliant start from the second Renault driver. Evans now lost out to Colin. Russell's going round the outside of Canute into turn 4. Locks up slightly. It's an absolutely outstanding move from Russell. He's in front of Vapor Canute, and the pole sitter has lost the lead in the second race in a row. A brilliant start from Russell, and there's been a bit of drama down there, I believe, for Benjamin, who has lost an awful lot of positions, and he's got front wing damage, so he's been involved in some sort of collision there. He finds himself just in front of Colin now, but Russell leads in Mexico.
Another big loser of this start as well. FRL Evan all the way down to 6th. I think Harrison's gone round. Yes, he has.
Yeah, Harrison's had a bit of he's in a bit of trouble somewhere. Yes, he is. So
no damage, Joe.
Rejoined with Benjamin, who's side by side with him, but he just about manages to stay in front. And Cobalt and Lewis, what's happened to them? No, nothing's happened to them. They're fine. They're okay. We're okay. It's all good.
Cheers, Cody's.
They're just ghosting. So they're being shown as falling down the order. They're not falling down the order. They're both okay.
Connor gets a time penalty.
Oh, Russell with a penalty as well in the Haas. That's not going to work out well for him. So, yeah, situation is that Connor is not third. Lewis is third.
Connor's leading on my screen.
Everyone's leading on my screen. So just ignore the timing squeeze on the left. They'll correct themselves eventually. But, yeah, Russell in the lead. From Vapor Canute, having lost the lead to the very fast starting Haas, and then Lewis behind them. There we go.
Russell pulling away a bit as well here.
Yeah, and Cobalt's giving his
Canute gets a time penalty.
Real competition. Vapor Canute with a penalty in the Williams. Connor with Evan.
There's a bit of rain. There's rain already.
I can't.
Yeah, there's rain. I just saw it streaking on Canute's car.
Wide goes Lewis, and Cobalt's right on him as well now. So Vapor Cobalt here might just sense the opportunity to get past Lewis as they round the final corner. Lewis running wide to the stadium section. No DRS just yet, of course, but Cobalt might not need it. He's in the slipstream of his teammate. Does Lewis play the team game? I think he does. Or does he?
No, he's still there. He's staying on the inside.
Right, yeah, there is indeed, and I can see some drops myself now. Cobalt tries to go round the outside of his teammate. Little bit of contact between them, but Lewis manages to stay in front of Cobalt for the time being. Runs very wide through turn 3, but keeps the position, with Vapor Canute starting to apply the blowtorch to the back of Russell now as he seeks to regain the lead. The big question now, of course, is going to be how quickly does the track get
Benjamin's race goes from bad to worse. I think he's just spun it coming out the final corner. So now 30 seconds behind the next car.
Yeah, manages to avoid any front wing damage in amongst that spin. But yeah, not a good start for Benjamin. He was provisional pole at the start of qualifying. Now finds himself down in 18th position. But of course...
Trench might be making a move on Evan.
No, not just quite. Gone very wide at the stadium section, so he's really pushing to try and get himself ahead of Russell. And as we go on board then with Evan, we're not on board, but we join Evan, who has Trench and Cohen Rob, the two Alfa Romeos right behind him. And the Renaults are very close. Lewis and Cobalt,
they were nearly side by
side. They almost spun each other out at the final corner. I think Harrison's made another mistake somewhere. He's falling down the order, but here comes
Canute's got past Russell as well. There's contact.
Flies past him, and Trench past Evan. And Evan manages to keep ahead of Carwin Rob for the time being.
Russell's got front wing damage.
And Russell, what's happened? So Vapor
Canute. What's happened? Canute's letting through.
And Vapor Canute.
Canute let him back through.
Is now being passed by Vapor Cobalt. So Canute did temporarily move into the lead, as you just said. Russell with some damage. Cobalt now finds himself up in a second place. A brilliant opening few laps from the American. Started in 5th, now finds himself up in 2nd place. He's going to have the lead before long.
I didn't I didn't like see it properly, but it looked like Canute passed Russell, and Russell ran into the back of him in the braking zone into turn 1.
Yeah, Vapor Canute's managed to avoid any wing damage himself. Crunchy Trees and Sankey You're Dead have both gone on to the
DRS has been
intermediate
disabled!
tyres.
Oh, Russell's won really wide!
There goes Russell. Russell's gone off the track, and Lewis has joined him as well in the outer extremities.
Oh,
of
Lewis
the
is losing so many positions!
It's an absolute car park in the stadium section.
Canute's got the corner!
Nobody seems to know where to go. They're all trying to just crawl round to the pits.
Oh, there was contact between Lewis and...
Oh, massive bit of contact. And Lewis in the
Russell
end.
gets a penalty!
Oh, goodness me. Everybody's just... It's like robot wars out here. Lewis and Cobalt both into the pits. That's going to cost Lewis.
Lewis is going to double stack.
He has to stack behind his team. Hasn't got a choice. I wouldn't want to stay out there for another lap on those slick tyres, given how it was chaos, wasn't it? On that.
So Trench is up to 3rd now as it stands. This is mental. Everybody's all over the place. There was contact on the way into the pits as well. So I don't know what's going on.
Cobalt rejoins in 1st place with Canute just behind him. Russell now is P5, having run wide. So after that outstanding start from the Haas driver, he has now found himself in a very
Benjamin spun again.
Benjamin, oh dear. Yeah, round again, and this time he has clipped off a bit of that front wing. And yeah, about time to get into the pits, I reckon. For Benjamin, there he is, as he gets the car slowed down onto the pit limiter. Not been a good start to this Grand Prix for him. So, of course, there is no DRS because everybody's skating around the circuit at the moment, trying to find whatever grip they possibly can. Vapor Canute's under a lot of pressure here, meanwhile, from Vapor Trench in this battle for 2nd. So, Trench started this race down in 9th place, and all of a sudden, he's well within this fight for the podium places. And if he can get past Canute, you never know if he can make up the 2 seconds he needs to catch Cobalt as well. Canute, of course, already has a penalty to his name as well.
Connor's had a really good start as well. Oh, Canute runs really wide!
Very wide, and Trench has passed him. 2nd place for the Alfa Romeo driver. Vapor Canute making a very, very costly error. And Trench says thank you very much and moves up to 2nd place as Carwin Robb becomes the latest recipient of a penalty. He's currently down in 16th place. But Trench here, what a brilliant few laps this has been for him. He's, of course, gone on to the intermediate tyres. He's rejoined in 3rd, then he's passed Vapor Canute for 2nd place. Cobalt is enjoying life at the moment, 2.5 seconds in front of this pack, although that gap, as you can see, is just slightly diminishing. So Trench is trying to close that gap, and so far he's doing so to a rather large degree of success, actually. Meanwhile, behind them, Patterson and Harrison are going side by side down towards turn 1. Patterson on the outside, Harrison on the inside. Very, very tight. Harrison slightly loses the back end, then drives clean round the outside at turn 2, and he's past the McLaren. Into P14 goes Harrison. He's had his fair share of dramas as well early doors in this Mexican Grand Prix.
Buttons Bat's got past Crunchy Trees as Crunchy Trees picks up a penalty for running wide as well. You've got to wonder how much wet driving practice did the drivers do around this track?
Not much. I wouldn't have thought. I think none would be the answer probably to that one. Crunchy Trees has already fallen just over a second back from Buttons Back as he moves into 6th place here in this Mexican Grand Prix. Bazooka Joe now finds himself half a second back from the Alpha Tauri driver.
And Crunchy Trees is really struggling out there as well. He's just dropping time.
Russell's right behind Connor. This is the battle for P4, and he's almost pushing him round the final corner. Now down the home straight they go. Ooh. And Connor almost hitting him as he moves across the circuit. Neither of them seem to be particularly willing to stay on their racing line, and in towards turn 1 they go. Russell's down the inside, although Connor tries to hold it round the outside, and they're still will-to-will going through turn 2. But Russell does ever so well, holds the inside for 3.
Connor's still there, though!
Now, surely he's got to give that one up, having just sailed off the track to stay side by side with him. And that is now P4.
Oh, up the inside!
Now the inside!
Oh, that's
a huge move! And Connor has half-spun that. Well, I mean, it wasn't the smartest move, was it, from the Ferrari driver? And he almost paid the price for it. Lewis, meanwhile, of course, the big loser in those pit stops because he had to double stack. He's just gotten past Warwick Cloud, but now he's gone wide through turn 4. manages to consolidate the position for now. So P11 for him. Yeah, Lewis has been really screwed over, hasn't he, by that last pit stop where he had to stack behind his teammate Koval, just outside the points now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue. Unfortunately, in the F1 game, they haven't really implemented a way to double stack as efficiently as teams do in real life yet. So you double stack with your teammate, you lose about 8 or 9 seconds a lot of the time, and it's so costly in a race where the field's this close because it's the start of the race.
Harrison has gotten past Goreles, meanwhile, for P13. The Mercedes driver dropping another position to the AlphaTauri, who's slowly starting to just make his way back up the grid. And Carwin Robb. What's happened to Carwin Robb? He's going a little bit slowly by the looks of it, going into the stadium section. He's lost his front wing, so he's been involved in some drama. Yeah, he's broken off. Oh, his end plate, and he slides around the stadium section. Go on.
When did Trench get past Canute? We just missed that. Trench is in P2.
No, he did it ages ago because Canute ran wide, didn't he?
Did he? Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's my bad. I've been up since 7 a.m. Sorry, everyone, who I just got excited there. That's my bad. As Carwin Robb picks up a penalty as well, and he just retires. He's given up.
Yeah, Trench has now got the gap down to a second and a half out front.
That's it. Yeah, he's got the gap down.
Oh, and Russell's past Canute.
Oh, Canute!
Vapor Canute must have made a mistake somewhere because he's just lost so much ground there to Russell, who is now up to P3. So for the second time here in Mexico, Russell gets past the Williams of Vapor Canute, and he's in now to those podium places as he looks to chase Vapor Trench now for second position.
Oh, and Evan gets another penalty. I think that's his second one of the race. So penalties could play a massive factor as this race goes on, as Harrison's gone round again.
Harrison, so Harrison making another mistake, and all that work that he's just done to get past Goreles has been completely undone because the Mercedes driver has found his way back past the struggling AlphaTauri. So back down to P14 goes Harrison. Meanwhile, Bazooka Joe is actually, he's really struggling to make ground. So Crunchy Trees seem to be in a little bit of a pickle, having been passed by Buttons back, but he's managed to regain his composure now, and he has a pretty consistent half-second gap back to Bazooka Joe. It's not really been coming down.
Lewis up the inside of Sankia, dead into turn one. He gets the move done clean under braking. Sankia there tries to come back, but a little bit of contact, but he can't quite get alongside him.
Lewis now into the top 10, so he's making this recovery. He had to make a recovery as well in Bahrain, and of course that was slightly undone by the spin that he had in the latter stages of that Grand Prix. So he finds himself the championship leader in need of another recovery drive.
Oh, Canute!
Bazooka Joe is now past Crunchy Trees, so he was struggling to make up the ground, but he's now managed to.
And Trench is within a second now as well. He was just within a second of Cobalt, so he's reeling him in now as well.
Buttons back's right behind Connor, meanwhile, in this battle for P5. That was very close to contact.
Optimistic.
Jeez. No, he hasn't. He's done well there. Yeah, that's a bold move into the stadium section on a dry day. So in a wet race, that's a big move, a bold move from Buttons back. But he saw the danger. And
he's got a good run here through the last corner. He might be quite close as they come down the straight.
Around the final corner they come. Buttons back.
Not running overtake.
Yeah, he's falling back, isn't he, from the Ferrari? The system, of course, does still work in the wet conditions. For anyone that might have been wondering, not sure why you wouldn't.
So,
but there you go.
I don't know about you, Rob, but this rain looks quite heavy to me. Do you think we could possibly end up on full wets at some point if it keeps on like this?
We'll find out. I think.
The politician's answer.
We might do. Yeah.
We might not.
Goreles, meanwhile, and Harrison are going side by side again. So Harrison, having gained the position, then lost it via a mistake, has now gained it once again, and he'll be hoping that he doesn't lose it once more. Back up to 13th place he goes, a couple of seconds behind Rory Cloud. Yeah, the rain does look fairly heavy, doesn't it? Just a question of when it's going to stop, because we are predicting that it is going to stop before things come to a close here. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we do end up on the wet sides. How wet does it really need to be to go on to the full wets?
I mean, I think the thing that's kind of saving it at the minute is the dry-ish line. Obviously, you have the racing line at the minute, which is fairly visible on track. When that starts to go, that's when you really need to consider full wets, because at that point there is just standing water everywhere. So maybe another 5 minutes of this, and drivers might start to look at it if these intermediate laps start falling away.
Vapor Trench is now 0.8 of a second back from Cobalt, so I think Trench right now will be wishing that it would be raining for the whole race, because he seems to be in his element at the moment as he chases down Cobalt for the lead of this Grand Prix. His last win came in Season 7 in the Dutch Grand Prix. And he'll be hoping to add another one.
He's very close here through Sector 2. Look how close he is at the exit of that corner. Only 5 tenths behind now.
Buttons back, meanwhile, is still very, very close to Connor. Just cannot seem to find a way past him right now. Urelez with a penalty, meanwhile, in the Mercedes. Harrison getting very close also to Warwick Cloud behind them. And is he getting past Warwick Cloud? Well, they're side by side. Harrison tries to go round the outside of him. Warwick Cloud very much introduces Harrison to the AstroTurf and holds on to P12 for the time being. Trench slowly just bringing down that gap out the front. Buttons back, still half a second away from Connor. He's just struggling to find a way past him. He's close for most of the lap, Matt, and then Connor with a big back end slide. He just seems to lose a lot of pace down the home straight, doesn't he?
Well, I have a feeling that Connor may be running a dry setup, which around Mexico is very low wings, so he may just have low enough wings that down the straights, Buttons back just can't get close enough.
Here he comes, though.
Well, he's certainly close here.
Behind the Ferrari, and does he go for the bold overtake into turn 1? He does not, and Connor stays ahead once more. Vapor Trench is now very, very close to Cobalt. He's managed to
and
get
look at Russell as well now coming into this.
Yeah, so Vapor Trench is going to be hoping that he gets ahead of the Renault as quick as he possibly can, because Russell is right on the back of this battle. He won't hesitate to punish Vapor Trench for any hesitancy in getting past the Renault. Behind them, meanwhile, Lewis is about half a second back from Evan in their battle for life. So Evan's another one, actually, isn't he, who lost out massively?
Yeah, he really lost. I mean, he dropped like 3 positions off the start, so he really struggled at the start of this race and then got punished in the pits because obviously he had to double stack with Canute.
Yep, so Evan and Lewis
Trench very deep.
Same boat right now. Vapor Trench out front. Yeah, he's lost. He's gone back down to a second and a half, hasn't he, behind Cobalt? That could be a chance here for Russell as they round the final corner. Doesn't look as though Russell's going to be close enough there to take advantage of that mistake. That's a bit more breathing room now for Cobalt after that error from Vapor Trench, though he has just managed to close the gap by another 0.3 of a second, having made that error. So a good recovery from Trench, and keeps hold of second place as well. Buttons back is once again right behind Connor. He's got the Ferrari in his crosshairs, but he's
not going to be close enough though.
Yeah, so once again has to stay behind him. Bazooka Joe is getting involved.
Oh, Lewis and Evan side by side into turn 1.
Yeah, they are, and Lewis is down the inside, and Evan, can he fight it? No, he can't. Lewis positions that Renault excellently, and he gets himself up into P9. Second and a half now behind.
Ooh, bit of a slide.
Yeah, everybody's just trying to keep their cars on the track. It's been an entertaining race so far, particularly the start of it. Vapor Trench has managed to... Cobalt's made a mistake somewhere, because Trench is now right behind him. He's 0.3 of a second back, so... after Trench's mistake, Cobalt's made one of his own to return the favour, and the top 3 now, you could put a blanket over them coming through the stadium section. Cobalt just in front of Trench, with Russell using as much of the track as he is permitted. Just behind them, Vapor Canute, 2 seconds back basically from Russell.
Oh, there's been a collision between Worried Cloud and Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison's lost out again, and they're both into the grass. They're both into the wall. Worried Cloud's lost his front wing. Harrison's lost his front wing. Benjamin's retired from the race. Meanwhile, this race just keeps going wrong, doesn't it, for Harrison? And this time, Worried Cloud's been involved as well. Harrison's rejoined right in front of Patterson, who will not be happy there about being blocked. Worried Cloud has now been passed by Harrison. It's the no front wing battle between these two. Down the inside goes Patterson of Harrison, who defends the position in spite of the fact that he's going to come into the pits in the second. This is almost needlessly causing a collision between these two. Crunchy Trees, meanwhile, is into the pits, and it's another set of intermediates on the car for him. Harrison and Warwick Cloud. Of course, we should expect them to come into the pits in just a moment. Russell is putting Trench under a lot of pressure.
I was going to say, while that was going on, I was actually on board with Russell through Sector 1. Out of turn 2 and 3, he was in 5th gear on the exit, just showing you the lengths these drivers are going to stop the rear wheels from spinning up on corner exit.
Yeah, drastic times. Call for drastic measures.
Russell has been gaining so much on this lap, though. He's almost pushed Trench around some corners.
Yeah, Russell really pushing him through the stadium section there. Although Vapor Trench has closed the gap quite a lot as well to Cobalt.
And this has brought Canute right into this as well, because he was about 4 seconds behind Russell when he first caught up to Trench.
Russell's got a chance here, I think, to get past Vapor Trench. He's so close to the Alfa Romeo in front. He's in the slipstream. He's closing up to the car here. And is this going to be second place in Mexico for him? He's down the inside. No, he's not. Has to think better of it.
Oh, that kind of cost him into turn 1 as well.
Yeah, Canute is now just over a second back. So he is, oh no, he's 1.7. He's trying to take advantage of this Vapor Canute. He's certainly closer now than he was just before. Russell once again has Trench in his crosshairs, but once again just cannot quite find the room for the overtake going into turn 4, so has to stick behind for the time being. It's the top 4, and then it's everybody else at the moment, because Connor finds himself 17.5 seconds back from Vapor Canute at the moment. He's still holding up Buttons back, who just cannot seem to get past the Ferrari despite his best efforts. Bazooka Joe also struggling to break through this little train of cars that's now developing, with Lewis catching up.
Oh, Russell gets another penalty.
Yeah, Russell picking up another one, so these are going to mount up.
I've just brought up the penalties on screen. Russell has 11 seconds worth of penalties as it stands. Canute has 6. As Buttons back gets past Connor.
Buttons back.
Connor's made a mistake somewhere.
So, yeah, now Bazooka Joe's right behind as well. So Joe in the McLaren's going to try and take advantage, but he's not quite close enough just yet to have a go. So yeah, finally, Buttons back getting the move done. Connor picks up a penalty to add insult to injury.
Oh, Russell's going up the inside!
And Russell and Trench side by side. And has he got him this time, Russell? Trench round the outside, defends it. So he just about keeps hold of second place.
Watch out of this corner, though. Russell's been getting really good runs compared to Trench.
Meanwhile, Lewis has passed Bazooka Joe because Joe is into the pits. So Lewis now finds
into turn 4!
Right behind Connor and Trench. And he's still defending very hard.
Oh, just
Russell.
about.
Russell cuts back underneath him. Does he go for the inside?
He lost the rear, though.
He doesn't.
He lost the rear as he came out the exit, so he couldn't make that cut back underneath. But a lot of penalties mounting up now as well. Trench and Cobalt really could take their foot off the gas almost if the penalties keep going the way they are.
This is all allowing Cobalt to break away. He's now...
And look at Canute now. He's right behind Russell.
Russell in P3. He's really trying to make that overtake work. Ureles passing Sankey Aded. Good move there for the Mercedes to get ahead, and into 9th place he goes. So Ureles now finds himself up in the points paying positions for the Mercedes team. Meanwhile, Patterson and Crunchy Trees have been going side by side again, and it's P12 for Patterson and 13th position for Crunchy Trees now in this Grand Prix, although Patterson's just gone a little bit wide, and Crunchy Trees now is down the inside of him going into turn 6. They have to leave each other room there, and Crunchy Trees is back ahead. So 12th place now for the AlphaTauri driver.
Russell's going for it again, but he can't quite get alongside into turn 1. He dove up the inside. He just can't quite get the move done. Trench defending resolutely right now from Russell.
Connor's into the pits for Ferrari, and this is another set of intermediates. So it's interesting that drivers are feeling the need to go for another set of inters. I would have thought the inters could last quite a long time.
The inters have a surprisingly short life compared to the wet tyres. The inters really can't go that far into a race there. Their wear rate is basically the same as a medium tyre, so this is probably about where the medium tyre would start to fall off 11-12 laps, so it kind of makes sense, really.
This leading pack still going strong out front on the set of inters they pitted onto in the first safety car period. Cobalt leads his Grand Prix by a second from Vapor Trench. Russell still harrying the Alfa Romeo, but cannot seem to find a way past just yet. Vapor Canoe watching on with keen interest behind them. Two-time world champions in the top 4 at the moment. In towards the final corner they come. Still no pit stops forthcoming.
Oh, Russell!
Russell wide at the final corner. And he does so well to hold on to that, because how many times in league races have we seen that kind of thing happen and the driver spin off into the barrier? That's a good catch, isn't it, from Russell?
Yeah, but absolutely. It almost looked like he forgot to change gear. I had his telemetry up. His Canute runs very deep. I had his telemetry up. He was in 4th gear at max revs. It's almost like he forgot to change gear out of the final corner.
Yeah, and Cobalt now has been closed to half a second.
Again.
So the gap's coming back down. Connor, meanwhile, after his pit stop, has got back into 10th place. He is now past Sanka Yadead. And he's now got Bazooka Joe in his crosshairs. Joe, of course, having just pitted also in the McLaren. Sanka Yadead takes that opportunity to come into the pits for Red Bull and fit on a new set of the green-walled intermediate tyres. So back out he goes. That should see him back out in 14th place. I'd imagine Patterson and Colin.
Oh, Harrison gets a 10-second penalty for corner cutting.
And meanwhile, Russell and Trench once again side by side.
Oh!
And this time, Russell's got him going into the stadium section. Really
That's
good
a bold move
there from the Haas driver. And finally, Trench's brave defence of second place is done. And Harrison's race is done as well, because he is out. Having had a bit of a shocker, really. A bit of a torrent of it here.
He might be looking to get past Cobalt as well.
So Cobalt now, he spent so long with Trench right behind him. Now at Russell's first attempt at taking the lead since the safety car. Oh, not quite. Thought about it, but has to stay behind the Renault for the time being. Cobalt did well to brake late enough to negate that overtake. Meanwhile, Bazooka Joe is past Urelez, and have a look as well at Connor right behind the Mercedes driver, and Connor dives down the inside, runs a bit wide though on the exit, defends the inside. Urelez is still there in the Mercedes, but Connor says, stay where you are, mate. Into P9 he goes. Urelez now cuts back underneath him. What a battle this is in Urelez.
Oh, that's an interesting line.
He did so well to hold it there, did Urelez, and he has to relinquish 9th place to Connor, who was very uncompromising there in getting past the Mercedes driver. Russell is putting all sorts of pressure now on Vapor Cobalt. Renault, one of the...
into the... Oh!
He's hit him! Russell hit Cobalt! It's a huge accident between those two.
Safety car
ended up with a headrest on his car. That's interesting. The headrest has come off one of the cars, and safety car deployed. That was a horrible mistake from... What did he do there?
Russell, it looked like he tried to go up the inside and come back onto the racing line as Cobalt's kind of started to slow down for the corner. So as he's come back onto the racing line, he's hit his rear end and put him straight into the wall. The stewards are certainly going to have a look at that one. I can imagine there'll be a fairly hefty penalty handed down as we're going onto the slicks.
Trench and... Wow. Yeah, I mean, that is so frustrating. I was literally just about to say that Renault are actually not one of the 10 constructors to have won here in the past, and they're about to do so now. But maybe they're not, because Vapor Cobalt has been yeeted into the barrier by Russell. Both of those drivers, of course, requiring front wing changes. I'm just amazed that one of the headrests came off and it was just sat on top of Vapor Trench's car.
I'm amazed neither of them retired, to be honest. Yeah. That was a hefty collision. That's normally the sort of thing that puts you out of a race. Bazooka Joe. Oh, Russell's round! He's round under the safety car!
Oh dear, Russell spinning. And
hang on, some drivers have gone on to the intermediates.
Yeah, so
Cobalt and Canute have stayed on them.
Well, I think that's probably a good decision because it looks too wet, doesn't it, for slicks? Surely.
Yeah, but DRS hasn't come back on yet either, and it looks like it is still raining a little bit as well. So, I wonder if there would have been a little giggle there from Cobalt as he got past Russell. I think both drivers will probably blame each other for that one. It was a heavy impact with a barrier. Both drivers, as you say, lucky to still be in this Grand Prix. Is it still raining? I can't see any.
I can't see any rain. There's a lot of standing
This
water.
Could be a very poor choice by Canute and Cobalt. We all know how quickly the track dries up on this game. It's only a few laps of racing, and the track will be dry again. This could be quite a costly decision here.
Yeah, but then from Russell's perspective, of course, he's just spun on the way out of the pit. So, I mean, is that just cold tyres, or is it genuinely too wet?
And also, he hasn't really lost any ground. He's going to catch back up. But, you know why there was that crash? It's because I was thinking to myself, I was going to say to you, Cobalt would be my nominee if there was an award for it, for most improved driver, because last year, no offence to the guy, but he wasn't really with JT and Canute for most of the season. And this season, he's been up at the front, for quite a bit of time. So I jinxed him, but, he's been doing amazing this season compared to last season.
Yeah, and of course he was our race leader before that contact with Russell. Bazooka Joe's back into the pits, and he is on to a...
Because he stayed on the intermediate, Bazooka Joe at first.
Canute and Cobalt sticking with their guns.
This could be, penalty for Connor as well. Because the thing is, if Cobalt and Canute pit now, they're going to come out behind traffic. So...
It's back in as well, so he's going to pit onto the slick. So it's only Canute and Cobalt now on the intermediate tyres. The thing with the game as well, Matt, is that when
look at the track, it's already drying up.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just happens very, very quickly on this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's still spray, but, I mean, if the safety car stays out for another lap, I could quite easily see it being more or less slick conditions when the race restarts, and Canute and Cobalt are just going to fall down the grid because they're going to have to pit. Although there is quite a big gap from P5 to P6, they might get away with this.
Yeah, but Evan's going to close that quite quickly, isn't he, I would imagine, to Buttons back. We'll see how that...
I wonder if they're going to pit.
Dissipates.
Surely you'd pit. You can't stay out on these tyres because you're just going to have to pit anyway. So you've got to pit now. Really, they should have pit at the end of the last lap because they would have only come out behind Buttons back.
I think their consideration will probably just be that there is still a fair bit of spray on the circuit, so they might decide to stay out on the inters, but of course it will dry up onto the slicks. Of course, the famous saying, be on the right tyre at the right time.
They both stayed out.
Both stay out, so yeah.
Oh, this is bold. This could
to be on the right tyre at the right time. Of course, I mean, provided everybody else can keep the car on the road, they are going to be minus, they're going to make one pit stop more now compared to everybody else. So. And
Sankey gets a corner cutting penalty under the safety car, which is always an interesting one.
Yeah. Too smart.
Yeah, I was just on board with Canute. The track's looking dry in places now, especially on the racing line.
Yeah, I think the first sector looks a little bit drier in sections. The third sector still looks very wet.
This is either a race winning or a race losing decision. This is only going to go one of two ways. And from my knowledge of the F1 game and how quick the track's dry, I feel like it's a race losing decision. The only thing I can think is unless they didn't have time to change it to the slicks on their way into the pits.
Well, there's a 50% chance they're right. So yeah, we'll see which strategy is the right one towards the end of this Grand Prix. Interesting decision from Crunchy Trees as well to go onto the hard tyres. Surely the mediums can probably make it.
Yeah, they probably could, but they'd be pretty worn at the end, so maybe playing the long game here and trying to jump the guys on the mediums at the end.
Yeah, Trees finds himself in 10th place, just in the points-paying positions. And of course, everybody with a penalty is going to be hoping that there's no further safety cars, because that will really do for them in this Grand Prix compared to the drivers who don't have penalties. They'll be hoping this is the last safety car of the Grand Prix. We will find out. Right, Vapor Trench leading this race, currently on the medium compound of tyre, with two drivers behind him, both on the inters in the form of Canute and Cobalt.
It looks dry. It looks dry to me.
Well, yeah, it looks pretty dry in the final corner, doesn't it? But Trench now lights it up and around the final corner. That's not a great restart, is it, from Vapor Trench? Vapor Canute is right there behind him, and Canute here takes the lead in the Mexican Grand Prix down towards turn 1. Not a good restart from Trench, struggling to get those slick tyres up to temperature on this very, very cold and wet surface at the moment. And Vapor Canute, well, is he on the right tyre for the end of the Grand Prix? Who really knows, but he's taken the lead in Mexico at the moment. And meanwhile, behind him, Cobalt is looking to take advantage of the reeling Vapor Trench, and he gets past him as well. So it very much seems as though right now the intermediates are the way to go, because Vapor Canute's stretching away and Cobalt's got past Trench as well. So Trench falling from first down to third on the safety car restart, and our two leading cars.
Russell sideways as well.
Intermediate running cars, with Russell having a bit of a moment again. He's in P4, just behind Vapor Trench. You can just see they are really struggling though, these slick runners at the moment.
They're losing a lot of time, but they're not losing enough time to where Canute and Cobalt can pull away and then pit and still be clear. Because if you look at the track here, it's looking really dry through these last two sectors. There's barely any spray coming off the slick runners' cars now.
Canute and Cobalt just have to pray that it stays wet for the rest of the race, but of course it won't. The rain will dry up, and Lewis,
They've pulled 7 seconds clear.
In front of Joe, he's got past him in the stadium section.
They've stayed out.
Into P7 he goes. Canute and Cobalt staying out again then for another lap. They find themselves 8 seconds in front of Vapor Trench.
This is so fascinating. Like, I would never have thought of this. I would have gone onto the slicks. This shows why I'm not racing, but...
Massive side-by-side there between Connor and Crunchy Trees in their battle for 9th place, which Connor currently holds, but Crunchy Trees right behind him as they skate round the final corner. Connor's gone extremely defensive, hugging the pit wall all the way down the home straight. Crunchy Trees on the outside.
Russell nearly spun it.
This is the weirdest side-by-side I've ever seen, and Connor manages to stay in front going into the first corner. Bazooka Joe with a time penalty.
Oh my God, Trench is 11 seconds behind.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea of how much these guys were struggling, while you were watching that battle, Russell was swerving on the straight to try and get some heat into the tyres. They just cannot get any heat into them right now.
I'll tell you what though, it really is drying, isn't it? Connor's just lost 2. Oh, what's happened to Connor? Connor's off the circuit in the Ferrari.
That's an interesting line through there.
His front wing. He's lost his front
wing. And a 10-second penalty.
Yeah. So Russell's got a penalty. Connor has broken his front wing somewhere. So, yeah, well, he was involved in a really good battle with Crunchy Trees on the last lap.
And Trench is just falling away. He's 15 seconds. Cobalt and Canute have nearly pulled a pit stop ahead.
Yeah,
they've come into the pits now, but...
Yeah, the track is drying massively. So they will, of course, lose. They will relinquish the lead of the Grand Prix, but they'll be on much fresher tyres than
Canute's on softs.
3-lap old fresher tyres towards the end of the Grand Prix.
They're going to come out in traffic, though.
Going on to mediums. Meanwhile, here comes Russell. So this then is now the battle for the lead. And Russell down towards turn 1 isn't quite close enough to Vapor Trench just yet to go for the overtake. So through the
Canute is only 4 seconds behind these leaders on fresh soft tyres. So
close, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, Biz has just put in the chat that's a masterclass strategy, and it is, because Vapor Canute's on soft tyres. Surely he's going to fly.
Russell on the outside.
And Russell side by side with Vapor Trench. This battle for the lead has been raging on all race long. Russell cuts back underneath him, but cannot quite get the overtake done just yet. Meanwhile, behind them. Yeah, Canute is all over the back of Button's
He's already right behind him.
Surely here, Vapor Canute, barring any drama for him, is on for his 2nd win of the season. Although, having said that, Canute has a penalty. Vapor Trench is the only driver in the top 5 without a penalty. So even if he goes and takes the lead here, Canute, as he gets past Button's back, he still needs a massive a burst of pace to get himself the win.
Canute has 2 penalties. He has 6 seconds. Russell has 9 seconds. Cobalt will gain so many positions as well, even if he doesn't overtake anyone.
Russell, half a second back from Vapor Trench. DRS wide open on that Haas car. Vapor Trench recognises the threat, tries to go defensive, doesn't matter. Russell's down the inside. Russell's taking the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix. And Vapor Trench finally has to give up that advantage once again. And in amongst all that battling, of course, Vapor Canute has now managed to get himself to within a second of P2, which is Vapor Trench at the moment. So Russell leads this Mexican Grand Prix, but with 11 laps to go, there is still so much that can and will change between now and the end.
Cobalt and Lewis have collided!
Down the inside, and Lewis and Cobalt, the two Renault drivers, making a bit of contact. Cobalt in front of Lewis. Luckily, both of those two able to carry on. But yeah, real drama between those two. Rule number 1 of racing, don't hit your teammate. P5
Canute gets a penalty!
Canute, that surely has put pay to Canute's efforts of winning this Grand Prix as he goes
He's
down
gone
the
past
inside
Trench,
of Vapor Trench. So second now up to Russell. He needs to make up. He needs to extend the gap by 9 seconds, doesn't he? He's got
Russell also has 9 seconds of penalties.
He does, right, yeah.
He's got to get 9 seconds clear of Trench. Trench right now, Trench's goal right now is just to stay within 9 seconds of his front two, and he'll inherit the win.
Which with Trench's pace, we know he certainly can do, as Canute gets closer and closer to Russell. Canute knows that he has to get the pace as quickly as possible so that he can extend that 9-second gap back to Vapor Trench. He'll be hoping Trench picks up a penalty himself to at least make that a little bit of an easier workload. Sankey Adeg gets a penalty in the Red Bull. Vapor Canute gets closer here to Russell, but not close enough going into turn 4. He has, though, just set a purple first sector.
Canute is flying.
Yeah, he is. Point for fastest lap, of course. Point for pole position as well, which Canute took in the 18-minute. Oh, Trench goes so wide out of turn 7 there. What the corner next. Turn 7 for Vapor Trench. So that'll just help Canute's cause a little bit as he opens up the DRS. And does he go down the inside here of Russell going into the stadium section? No, he doesn't.
No.
Just too far back. Would have been a brave move. We've seen it a couple of times in this race so far. But yeah, go on.
He's already pulled a 2-second gap to Trench as well. So
yeah. So if he takes the lead, he's gonna have a good chance, isn't he? Here, Vapor Canute, round the final corner they go.
Oh, wow.
Surely here, Canute with the fastest lap, 1:17.2 from him. Completely demolishes the 1:18.7 from Valtteri Bottas, which is the lap record here in 2018. Vapor Canute leads this Mexican Grand Prix. Everybody taking the lead here. Canute had the lead at the start of the Grand Prix. He has the lead once again on lap number 28. Now can he pull the gap to Vapor Trench without, of course, picking up any more penalties in the process, as Evan and the other Williams gets a penalty as well.
And one quirk for the viewers at home who might not know this track that well, if you have DRS through the first DRS straight, you actually maintain it through the second one as well, I believe, as Canute still had DRS through the second DRS straight.
Yeah, he did, yeah. So even if you get past the car, you're still the one that gets DRS, which I don't think is entirely fair. I think if you're trying to promote racing, surely the driver behind should get DRS. But anyway, Lewis here is chasing his teammate Cobalt for 5th place, and hopefully this time they're not going to make contact, the two Renault drivers. Running pretty close at the moment. Renault, of course, the only constructor to stand on the top step of the podium in season 8.2, but this race hasn't entirely gone to plan for those two.
1:15.8!
1:15.8. I'm seeing that lap. Round the final corner then come the two Renault drivers.
And he's
very much
4 seconds clear of Trench.
Very much looks as though Vapor Canute could well be on his way to victory if he can pull enough of a gap. Here comes Lewis then, looking to pass Cobalt for P5. Two protagonists in the championship. Lewis gets past him. Into 5th place he goes. One Renault passes the other. This time that all passes without incident, and it is 5th position for the championship leader. Meanwhile, Evan is right behind Bazooka Joe, just behind those two, and he has a little look going into turn 4, but discretion was the better part of Valor there. Patterson and Crunchy Trees are side by side. Patterson's now P10, Crunchy Trees behind him in 11th place. Of course, he doesn't have as much pace on those hard tyres. Bazooka Joe, Patterson, I should say, has to go defensive for turn 4 because Crunchy Trees is still there. But Patterson manages to defend the position. And P10 for him then. Crunchy Trees forced outside of the points. Only 2 of our running drivers are yet to pick up penalties. It's Vapor Trench in 3rd place and Colin in 13th place, which could well mean that Colin in the Haas, for the 3rd time this season, picks up points, provided he just keeps his nose clean, because he's not far at all behind those points positions. 4.5 seconds now between Canute and Trent, so the gap isn't being extended by quite as much as it was.
Well, it's actually 6 seconds, because there's a 1.5 seconds between Russell and Canute as well.
Yeah. No, that's just me being dumb. Yeah, sorry, yeah. So,
but I tell you what, this is something to watch out for as we go into the last few laps. Russell is keeping up with Canute relatively well on 5-lap older mediums, and those softs, as we do know, can hit a cliff very rapidly and without warning. So this race isn't over yet.
Evan, meanwhile, and Bazooka Joe side by side between those two. McLaren versus Williams, and Evan is ahead. Bazooka Joe tries to hold it round the outside. Evan will just gently run him out of space, and it's P7 for him. And down to 8th place now for the German driver, Bazooka Joe. Evan finds himself 3 seconds behind. Lewis has been repassed somewhere by Kobalt.
I just noticed that.
In amongst all that excitement, we completely missed that one. So Lewis, now having done all the work to get past his teammate, has now been repassed by him. They've now gone wheel to wheel twice without making contact with each other, the two Renault drivers, and looks as though they might be about to make it a third, because round the final corner they come. Lewis once again will have DRS. He's in the slipstream. They're closing up as well to 4th place. Buttons back, these two, so this could become a very interesting battle for 4th place. It's then 4.5 seconds up to the podium places after
Lewis
that.
up the inside!
Lewis down the inside of Kobalt, has the position.
Oh, but he's overshot!
Locks up slightly. Kobalt's still there. Lewis will have DRS to try and run away from his teammate. Kobalt, though, will still have the slipstream from his teammate. It's not going to be enough to get him back past going into turn 4. Of course, Evan's going to be hoping that these two make contact with each other again.
Oh, Russell got another penalty.
Another penalty, so Russell's really costing himself now. The gap, the gap's nearly there, isn't it, between Canute and Trent?
It's 8 seconds now, so...
Yeah,
you know how I...
Squeaky bum time. Oh, and here we go. Warwick Cloud just behind Patterson, Crunchy Trees and Colin, both involved in this battle. Warwick Cloud now up to P11, getting past Crunchy Trees. Russell's going to be the next one to have a go at Russell. Colin's going to be the next one to have a go at getting past the struggling Alpha Tauri. Warwick Cloud now finds himself just half a second away from the points. Really good battle going on between those 4 drivers.
I said before the race, when we were told about the rain to dry terrain, that, you know, there might be someone pulling off a Jensen Button, and right now it looks like Canute's done that. He's absolutely nailed the strategy, despite all my doubting, which shows why he's a 2-time champ, and I'm certainly not.
Yeah. I'm sure I could jump in the car and be about, I don't know, within 2 minutes of Vapor Canute's lap time. Kobalt. Half a second off his teammate Lewis, so it does look as though Lewis has managed to consolidate that position, having got past the American driver.
And they've caught up to Button's back now as well, so...
Yeah, Lewis potentially... Well, no, there's not really enough time, is there, for him to get himself on the podium, particularly as well because Vapor Trench has penalties, although Russell seems to be mounting up the penalties quite a lot at the moment. 3 wide here between Patterson, Crunchy Trees and Warwick Cloud, and Crunchy Trees has managed to get himself back past
for McLaren!
Warwick Cloud dives down the inside. That would have been a huge overtake from him, and Crunchy Trees now back up to 10th place, so he simply will not give up here. Crunchy Trees, it's is it one last act of defiance, or is it him making a statement and getting past 2 drivers now who are starting to struggle on their old medium tyres? Either way, Crunchy Trees back up into P10. Warwick Cloud has another penalty, and Patterson now down to 11th with Warwick Cloud in the clutches of the Haas driver of Colin, who is still keeping his nose clean and still avoiding getting any penalties. Lewis now is very, very close indeed to the back of the Red Bull of Buttons back. He has DRS on him. His teammate Kobalt also has DRS. Lewis here getting closer and closer, but will not be close enough going into the braking zone of turn 4. So this could well turn into a 4-5 for Renault as opposed to a 5-6, depending on the penalties for Russell. We'll wait to see how that situation pans out in terms
So
of getting themselves on the podium. Patterson once again side by side with Crunchy Trees, going through the first 3 corners, and Crunchy Trees managing to stay ahead. Now look at Worry Cloud as well, getting wheel to wheel with Patterson. Looks to get himself back ahead of the McLaren, but Patterson's still right there. Round the outside goes Worry Cloud, and once again gets ahead of him for 11th place, and Colin cuts back underneath in front of the Haas, and Colin goes down the inside. Oh, he's almost squeezed out into the infield by Patterson. There's still wheel to wheel round the outside. Bit of contact. That's an outstanding move from Colin. Gets himself up now into 12th position.
Oh, Russell with another penalty!
Russell gets yet another penalty in the Haas. He's surely going to be off the podium now as Lewis gets past, Buttons back, and Cobalt has a go as well going into turn 1. Buttons back on the inside, manages to keep Cobalt behind him for the time being, but Cobalt surely is going to have a great chance going down towards turn 4 now. Lewis has sidled past the Red Bull, and Cobalt now is past the Red Bull as well. Is he? Buttons back is still there on the inside. Cobalt drives round the outside.
Oh, what a move!
And he has the move done, and it's 4th place for Lewis. It's 5th place for Vapor Cobalt, and potentially a spot on the podium awaits for one of these two. It is 9.2 seconds between Canute and Trent. So Vapor Canute is our race now. Oh, Lewis!
Oh, Lewis is out!
Tired for the race! What has happened there to Lewis? The Renault driver has crashed out of the Grand Prix. Bazooka Joe makes up the position. What on earth has happened to Lewis there? No idea how he's managed that, but he is out. And the championship leader, he made a couple of really costly errors.
Oh, this could be massive.
Last time out. And he's made another one here with the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix.
Russell got the second! He spun it!
Oh, Russell! Oh, no! Spinning at turn 3. That puts pay to his hopes of a podium finish completely now. Cobalt's up to P3. What a dramatic end. The championship leader, Lewis, blowing it, crashing out of the Grand Prix, and then Russell spinning out as well.
Oh, no.
And Vapor Trench and Cobalt will surely have the last 2 spots on the podium after Vapor Canute. And the one thing that Canute will be thinking right now is, thank goodness there wasn't a safety car off the back of any of that, because that would have cost him the win and a podium.
Oh, we got another penalty!
Oh, no!
That might have cost him the win anyway!
And Vapor Trench is going to win the Grand Prix! On to the last lap we go. Canute needs a miracle. He needs something to happen to Vapor Trench. Otherwise, Trench here is surely on course to win his 2nd race in just 2 seasons in the Formula PlayStation League.
What a race!
This is a mental race. So Canute now, on this last lap, needs a 12-second gap back to Vapor Trench. Something tells me that's not quite going to happen. He will still have a place on the podium, Vapor Canute. This is so frustrating for him, though.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he'll be P3. I believe. I don't know. No, actually, no. Cobalt's only got 3 seconds, but he's not going to jump him. But still, what a race this has been. I mean, nearly everyone's been in the lead. It looks like Trench is going to win it on penalties. You've had 2 of the quickest drivers on track crash out. This has been mental. And this is going to dent into Lewis's hopes for the title as well, because Canute's going to get 19 points out of this race at a minimum.
Yeah, this has turned out to be a very, very frustrating evening for Vapor Canute. An awful one for Lewis, who was the championship leader coming into tonight. But Canute rounds the final corner. He takes the win on track. But Vapor Trench in a moment is about to round the final corner. He needs to be within 12 seconds. He is within 12 seconds.
He was actually within 9.
Vapor Trench wins the Mexican Grand Prix. Cobalt finishes in 3rd place. Buttons back comes home for 4th. Evan behind him in 5th place. Bazooka Joe will eventually come through to be P6 here in Mexico City. Guerrillez finishes in P7. Worry Cloud is just coming into the stadium section now as a legacy of those 2 retirements. Worry Cloud up to 8th place. Crunchy Trees now 9th. Patterson now languishing down in 11th. So I can't wait to see how Colin's going to do here, because he, of course, is currently in 10th place, but he'll pick up a few more positions because those penalties up to 8th he goes in this Grand Prix. Patterson finishes 11th. Sankey Dead will be in P12. Vapor Trent.
He also has 21 seconds of penalties.
Yeah, it's quite a big penalty there for Sankey Dead to pay at the end of this Grand Prix. But Vapor Trench, well, he lost the lead on track, but he kept his nose clean. He avoided picking up the penalties that his rivals did around him. And Vapor Trench takes the victory here in Mexico.
What a race.
Exactly what that was at the end, I don't really know. But Trench on the top step of the podium. That's a sweet win for him. His first win since the Dutch Grand Prix in Season 7 in the FPSL. And now takes victory in round 4 of 8.2 in Mexico City. And as a result of that, of course, Canute losing out on the win that he got on track. And if it wasn't for that extra penalty on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix...
Actually, no, Trench still would have beat him. No, Trench would have been 300ths ahead of him. He was plus 3.033. He would have actually beaten by 300ths of a second had he not got that last penalty anyway.
Wow. Yeah, but he was... let's have a look. No, because he had 9 seconds, though, didn't he? Canute, and Trench was over 9 seconds behind him.
I thought he was slightly under.
No, he was
I'll do the maths later.
I think it was 9.9, the gap between them. Anyway, Trench P1, Canute in second place. Cobalt takes the final podium spot. Buttons back behind him. And then Evan, Bazooka Joe, Ureles, Colin, Crunchy Trees, Warwick Cloud, and then Patterson, Sankey are dead out of the points with Russell, Lewis, Connor, Harrison, Benjamin, and Carwin Robb all out of the Mexican Grand Prix in what has been a pretty shocking evening of racing here in Mexico. It has thrown up all sorts of shocks and surprises for us here tonight. Lewis came into this evening with a 21-point lead. Vapor Cobalt now has that down to just 8 points going into next week. All of a sudden, this championship just got blown wide open. Good night.